Wait, we started? I need to get my hair together, and I don't... Hey, my name is Jelani Greenidge, also known as G Natural. If you're a holy hip-hop ed, you know, between the age of like 25 and 37, that was oddly specific, wasn't it? Anyway, if you're into Christian hip-hop and you're in your late 20s or early to mid 30s, you might remember me from the work I did with a website called hiphopzone.com, which was, when it started in the late 90s, the first website devoted to covering hip-hop music from a Christian point of view. Nowadays, you got tons of amazing sites all over the internet, sites like Rapzilla, sites like Sphere of Hip Hop, thesouth.com, which, by the way, mad respect to the memory of Richie Douglas, a.k.a. Slave, who helped the South get off the ground, you know what I'm saying, before he handed it off to Trey 9, Bobby Herring, and, you know, it blew up and went the way that it was, and I'm rambling. But the point I'm trying to make is, at Hip Hop Zone, we kind of started to get the ball rolling in terms of recognizing and promoting Christian music with a hip-hop flavor to it. And that's my background. That's probably why you've heard or read my name. I also have a hip-hop group on the side called the Ixters, and you know, we rep Portland, Ixters.com. Yeah. Why do you care? Why am I telling you all this? Because I'm tremendously excited. I heard the news from a man, Sketch the journalist, that Tim Trudeau and the rest of the good people at Syntax Records have gotten the entire Frontline Records catalog available online. Like, right now. Seriously. Do you people know how big that is? Oh, you gotta be kidding me. Let me tell you something. Frontline Records was one of the few labels that were making really interesting, really authentic Christian music, and that was edgy, and it was along the fringes. It was the kind of stuff, what do I mean? I mean, you know, when you think of hard music, or punk, or hip-hop, or rock, or even funky R&B, you know, the type of edgy stuff that back in the 80s and 90s, you would have never heard that stuff in churches. And truth be told, even now, you still can't hear that stuff in most churches. And that's unfortunate. But still, in the Christian music scene now, compared to where it was then, there's a lot more variety of music. And so Frontline, they really were on the front line of bringing that stuff to listeners. And because, you know, there were people that would go to Christian bookstores, and that was their sole outlet for receiving Christian music, because there was no MySpace, there was no Facebook, there were not quick, easy avenues of distribution over the internet. And so you had to go to a Christian bookstore, or you had to go ask somebody who knew about it at church. And most churches, like I said, weren't playing it, so most people didn't know about it. Speaking of church, right now my life is connected to church. In addition to the many other things that I do, I lead worship at my church, and I use keyboards, just like this one you see right here. This is the Yamaha Motif. I use keyboards and make pattern arrangement tracks to help me lead worship, so I don't have to play all this stuff by hand. And actually, I started a side ministry called Motif Worship, where I help train people to do what I do, use the Yamaha Motif in worship services. Now, why do you care about this? Well, let me tell you, one of the things that I love to do, I love to make arrangements of hymns. And I mean, I love hip hop and I love hymns. That's just something about me. Part of my fascination with hymns back to a couple of Frontline releases by a guy named Bernard Wright. He did a couple of Fresh Hymns 2, and then New Gospel Format. Now, on that last one, he did this arrangement of Amazing Grace. It was banging. He sampled people singing the melody, and then like he put some really nice keys and some really cool bass and some nice kind of beats underneath it. It was melodic and it was groovy, but at the same time it was still reverent, and it was still felt holy, and it was inspiring. And it was not like anything that I was accustomed to listening to. And I was feeling that song. Like, I put it on all my favorite mixtapes that year. By the way, for the record, mixtape, that's not like an expression that means a bunch of MP3s. Like, there was a cassette tape, and you literally had to, anyway. I'm old enough that when I talk about mixtapes, I'm talking about actual mixtapes. So that Amazing Grace arrangement by Bernard Wright was like one of my favorites, and I loved it, and I loved playing it all the time. And so here's the deal: if there's no Frontline Records, then Bernard Wright doesn't get to release that album, and I never get to hear that arrangement of Amazing Grace. And then maybe I don't have a fascination with hymns. Maybe I never become a worship leader, and then there's no motifworship.org. So if you're a young, hot, talented person, you're a believer in Christ, you've got some gifts and talents, and you're trying to get a feel for what the scene was like before you came up, before it was easier to find an audience on the internet, you should check out Frontline, because they've got a lot of great artists and a lot of really cool things that were popping back then. Or if you're like me, you just want to hear some old school gospel gangsters or Dynamic Twins or something, check them out. Frontline, it's banging. It's on iTunes, Music, all those great online music stores. And my plug is over, because I've been talking way too long. Like, why are you even still listening to this? I'm not even in a studio space. This is just me. This is where I work.